Right guys, I'm back again. I'm gonna give 3 function examples in this lesson. So we need to create 3 separate programs. I'll explain each one as we go along. So we need to create our console application. We click on Go, select C, Programming. The first function we want is a function pass by value. So what this simply then means is we want to work with our function. We'll have a parameter, and this parameter will help us work with our 2 functions, the main function plus the function that we want to work with. So I can also create my function below the main, and I'll call it number use. That's what I'll call the function, and then I'll put a variable that I'll call int num, and this is what I'll work with for my function. So in other words, we're then saying at any given point in time I'll also need to call number use and have whatever element I may want to use number use for. So with that having been done, I also need to return something. So I'll return num so that it gives me the same value as what my num will be. So I'll then say num is equal to 2 multiplied by num, like that, and then I have a printf to give me the value that I want. So I'll simply put 2 new line aspects. So this is number function, and then we call our number to be %d, %d, and we want to use our num, which is our variable that we've put there. So in our main function we also need to have a declaration of values. So I say int n is equal to 23, and then I also have a result which I'll call res, and that is equal to 11, like that. So I would want now to reference content that is in my function. So I would actually want my result to be equal to my number use, and in brackets I want to pass the value of n into number use. So in other words, we're then saying number use does not have a value, so I'm passing the value of n into number use. Hence why we are calling it the function call, as we pass a value into the next function. So number use is its own function, main is its own function, so we are passing the number from our main function into number use, and we are expecting our result to give us what it would have calculated in the number use function, getting a value from the previous function. So if I run it, we'll actually then get to see that our value, or the number function, our number is 46. So what that then means, we have passed 23 into number use, and 23 times 2 gives us 46. That's how we got that. So this we call a function pass by value. So I can just put a comment there and say function pass by value. like that. So that then becomes our function pass by value. We can also do a function pass by reference, which is the next program that we're going to be working on. We click on next, function pass by reference. Okay, so in the function pass by reference, we do pretty much a similar thing, but our code will be slightly different. Here's what we want to do. We want to use a function call by reference, right? So we want to use a function prototype where we say int jump, and our jump gives us an int. We use p_num as our variable, and this simply denotes that we're working with a pointer. So let me just put that down and say pointer value. Okay, and then we get into our main, where we do the following. Okay, we still need to add some code. Let's start with our int num equals 20. Our int asterisk p_num is equal to ampersand num, and then we've got our int res equals 0 and res equals jump in brackets p_num. Okay, outside of that we then have a printf where we want to display the result and the number. Okay, so in this particular point we say main, so we say result %d and number is also %d. Put a new line, and we then get our result and our number, which is res and num, like that. And then we now need to go to our jump. Our jump will be as follows. We now need to add information to our jump, where we say asterisk p_num multiplies equals to 2, and then we want to printf. Our printf gives us the following. This then becomes jump. Our number is %d with a new line, and we want to get asterisk p num. That's the value that we want to get, and we want a return type of p num as well, like that. So this then means we've got our information as it is. This should work unless we had an error. Okay, so in our jump, our value is 40. In our main, our values are also 40. So in other words, we are referencing what is in our main based on what is within our function. So the two copies will be exactly the same of the two separate functions. If we are doing a reference, we have exactly the same values. If we're doing a by value, we're just wanting to use the value but not necessarily changing the contents of our code. So then the last function we want to actually work with is a slightly different version of a function, but pretty much gives us a value that we can pretty much work with. So we want to see how a return type works. So that's the idea of this particular project. So we can give this project a name, custom return type. Okay, and then this custom return type will have the following. We want to edit our program as usual. In this particular case, we work with void and void mean. We open and we close brackets. Int a, int b, int return underscore val, and then we do the following. Okay, so we want to mimic what a return type does. So we say return value is equal to open and close brackets a plus b, and this we divide by 2 so that we get our return type. Like that. And then we want to print f and return underscore val in mean is %d, put a new line, and then we call return val, like that. So we are done with that particular point. So because we had made this function a void, we don't necessarily need a return type, which is why we then created our own return value that we'll be using as a return type. So let's just get into our main function where we want I and j as our new variables. We want answer as our variable as well, whereby we say I is equal to 7 and we say j is equal to 9. Then we call our function mean, and we put our I, our j, and our mean. Sorry, and our answer, not our mean. And then we now need to have a printf that gives us the following. Printf, and this is just supposed to give us all the values that we've had and we want to work with. We're starting with I, then j, then answer. So we want I is %d and j is %d and answer is %d. Put a new line and then we run our program. If we have no errors, perfect, we don't have any errors. So the value that we're getting is 8. So we're saying 7 plus 9 gives us 16 divided by 2, that gives us 8. That's fine. But in the main function, we're not getting the same answer. We're just getting 7 and 9, but our answer still remains as 0. But pretty much that's how our return type works. So here ends the lesson.